Welcome back, focused learners. Today we are diving headfirst into session 17 of our adventurer's epic journey. It's titled Treachery, Tentacles, and Truth. And let me tell you, this is a massive, and I mean absolutely massive, turning point in the world of Infinitum. We've got a lot of ground to cover, so let's just jump right into the explainer.
Right off the bat, we are thrust into a cinematic three-act quest that is just packed with high-stakes combat, brutal treachery, terrifying tentacles, and a real-world truth that's going to leave you completely reeling. The inciting incident here hits like an absolute freight train. So, the Holy Crusaders, our guild of players, log into the medieval server and head straight over to the barracks for their next main quest. They go to speak to the captain of the guard, expecting a standard monster hunt, maybe a simple escort mission. But instead, the captain looks dead at them and says, "Your next quest is to kill the king of Fantasia." Just pause and really think about that for a second. The party is in total, utter shock. The captain explains that the king was recently kidnapped, and the creature currently sitting on the throne in the palace, it's actually a shape-shifting imposter pretending to be the monarch.
Now, to fully understand how the party even arrived at this fateful meeting in the first place, we have to look back at an incredible in-game mechanic they unlocked earlier that same day. Captain Dash 2, the party's illusionist wizard, finally pulled off something huge. For days, she had been trying to attune to this unique, magical, mechanical upgrade they'd found. Well, in Session 17, she finally succeeds. It's an armor upgrade the team endearingly nicknamed the Instaport. Basically, it allows the user to just focus their mind and instantly open up to 3 cross-server portals every single day. Talk about a massive tactical advantage, right? She uses this exact Instaport to teleport the whole group directly to the barracks, setting this entire wild chain of events into motion.
But you might be wondering, why even return to the medieval server at all? Well, the Holy Crusaders have a brand new ultimate goal. If you remember from our previous sessions, they visited the sci-fi server, fought those terrifying alien eggs, and even met Captain Kirk on the Starship Enterprise. And Kirk told them that if they save up enough gold, they can actually buy their very own used starship. This highlights a genuinely brilliant tactical takeaway for any gamer out there. Sometimes you have to step out of the brutal, high-level zones and use your new tech to farm easier quests just to build your bankroll. So, the group made this strategic decision to grind the slightly easier main quests back in the medieval server, hoping to eventually score a massive royal payout from the king, because hey, they need that spaceship money.
Armed with this terrifying new knowledge from the captain of the guard, the Holy Crusaders don't waste any time. They march directly up to the palace. And because they've spent so much time building up a stellar reputation in the kingdom, the guards don't even bat an eye. They just let the players stride right into the throne room. The party walks straight up to the monarch, bold as can be, and bluntly demands that he surrender his fake form. They literally accuse him right to his face of being a shapeshifter. As you can imagine, it is an incredibly tense standoff.
But here's the thing. The king looks genuinely, entirely confused. He absolutely insists he is the real king. The players, playing it pretty smart here, demand he prove it by telling them things only the real king would know. And wow, the king delivers some ironclad proof. He details their brave deeds, like saving local farmers and fighting off goblins. He specifically cites the exact amount of gold they donated to the city orphanage, but the absolute kicker, the undeniable proof, he mentions the infamous bakery ban. You guys remember back in Session 6, the party ate an entire 7-layer wedding cake meant for the king and completely threw up all over the bakery? It's a hilarious masterclass in storytelling because the most embarrassing, trivial mistakes these players make end up becoming the ultimate proof of their identity. Finally, the king points out that he has been under 24/7 surveillance by his royal guards inside this exact room. If he were kidnapped, they absolutely would have seen it.
Notice how the power dynamic completely flips right here. The king looks down at the players and asks a rather brilliant question. Who told you I was an imposter? When they sheepishly confess it was the captain of the guard, the king just pauses. He asks them to consider a terrifying alternative. What if the captain of the guard who gave you this quest is actually the kidnapped imposter? The players' faces must have gone completely pale in real life. They realize they've been completely manipulated and they literally just committed near treason by accusing the real king. Apologizing profusely, they sprint out of the palace as fast as they can to investigate the barracks.
As they arrive back at the barracks, the pacing of the entire session just grinds to a heavy, horrifying halt. The bustling, lively military hub they left just a few hours ago is now a gruesome crime scene. Dead guards are scattered everywhere in what is clearly a massive, bloody massacre. The players are frantically searching the area, fully realizing how incredibly close they came to doing the villain's dirty work for them. Amidst all this horrific carnage, they finally find a single solitary guard. He's bleeding out on the floor and barely clinging to life.
Time is completely of the essence here. Drwindar, the party's wood elf ranger, uses some incredible quick thinking. He pulls out a magical goodberry and carefully feeds it to the dying guard. Now, to be clear, a goodberry isn't anywhere near strong enough to completely cure massive fatal injuries, but it stabilizes the guard's system just enough to keep him from bleeding to death right then and there. And that split-second tactical decision pays off beautifully, because the surviving guard uses his last remaining bit of energy to reveal the true identity of the villain.
The guard weakly gasps out that shortly after the Holy Crusaders left for the palace, the quote-unquote captain revealed his true form, a mind flayer. This is such a chilling revelation. If you know anything about the lore, a mind flayer is a terrifying, tentacled monstrosity that quite literally feeds on brains and manipulates thoughts, which perfectly explains the shape-shifting lie in the first place. The guard manages to tell them that the monsters stole the heavy prison keys and fled downstairs into the dark dungeon below.
Our heroes don't even wait for the guard to finish thanking them. They draw their weapons and begin this incredibly tense, cinematic descent into the dark, cold stone prison beneath the barracks. And when they finally hit the dungeon floor, they spot it, the Mind Flayer. It is standing right in front of a locked cell, just horribly taunting the man trapped inside. And that man? It's the real, bruised, and heavily battered captain of the guard.
This moment brilliantly illustrates just how devious and intelligent a Mind Flayer really is. The absolute second the monster spots the players, it initiates a completely chaotic, multi-layered ambush. Step 1, it uses its telekinetic abilities to instantly pop open every single prison cell door in the block, except for the captain's, of course. Step 2, a massive flood of desperate, panicked prisoners surges out into the tight hallway, desperate for freedom, effectively becoming a human wall that completely blocks the players from reaching the boss. And Step 3, right among those fleeing prisoners are monsters. A massive ogre and a vicious, fiery hellhound charge directly at our heroes.
Let me tell you, this combat encounter is an absolute nightmare, purely because of its dual nature. It's a classic strategy lesson in dividing and conquering your enemy. The Mind Flayer essentially forces the party to split their attention between basic physical survival and total mental fortitude. On one side of the battlefield, you have Vala, Barkin, and Antonella locked in brutal, physical melee combat, just trying to hold the line against a giant ogre and a hellhound, all while carefully avoiding accidentally killing any of the regular innocent prisoners. Meanwhile, the Mind Flayer stays safely in the back, launching devastating, mind-altering psychic attacks. The party's minds are literally being ripped apart from the inside while their bodies are physically being beaten down. It is an overwhelming, incredibly grueling fight.
Things are looking incredibly grim for the Holy Crusaders at this point. They are taking some really heavy damage. Their spell slots and resources are rapidly depleting, and the Mind Flayer is still basically untouched in the back of the room. But then, right when all hope seems lost, a massive turning point shifts the energy of the entire battle. From out of the chaotic mob of brawling prisoners, a totally unexpected ally emerges, fundamentally changing the odds.
Enter Brother Ezekiel, a halfling prisoner. While the Mind Flayer is totally distracted psychically assaulting the players, Ezekiel stealthily creeps right up behind it and actually manages to pickpocket the heavy prison keys right off the monster. He bolts over, unlocks the cell, and frees the real captain of the guard. And what does the captain do once he's out? He doesn't go looking for a sword. Nope. He charges the terrifying Mind Flayer and just starts brawling with it, using his bare fists. It is unbelievably epic. Meanwhile, Brother Ezekiel immediately turns his attention back to the Holy Crusaders and starts casting crucial healing magic, keeping our heroes on their feet in the thick of the fight.
This heroic intervention completely, 100% turns the tide of the battle, with the real captain actively pummeling the boss and Ezekiel keeping the party's health bars topped up. The Holy Crusaders catch a second wind. They rally hard. They finally manage to slay the ogre, they dispatch the hellhound, and together they bring down the Mind Flayer for good. The surviving regular prisoners are rounded back up into their cells. Once the dust finally settles, the real captain thanks the party profusely, and he officially pardons Brother Ezekiel on the spot. The players actually feel so bad about the dead guards upstairs that they offer to join the guard to replace the fallen soldiers, but the captain wisely turns them down. He tells them they would be bored out of their minds taking orders, and that Fantasia needs them to remain exactly what they are: independent, heroic adventurers.
As they are finally leaving the prison, they get an absolutely amazing narrative reward. Brother Ezekiel runs up and politely asks if he can join their guild. He formally introduces himself as a life cleric, played by a user named Drake.
The Holy Crusaders immediately realize this is exactly what their party composition has been missing, a dedicated healer to back up their heavy hitters. Without any hesitation, they officially welcome Brother Ezekiel into the Holy Crusaders, expanding their roster just when they needed it the most.
The newly expanded party makes a triumphant return back to the throne room, this time accompanied by the actual, real captain of the guard. They explain the entire complex Mind Flayer plot to the king, clearing their names completely of any treasonous suspicion. The king is so deeply impressed by their bravery and, frankly, by their ability to clean up their own colossal mistakes that he officially bestows upon them the title Heroes of Fantasia. This is huge. This incredible honor instantly maxes out their reputation with the entire kingdom.
So, the really crucial point here is that reaching max reputation comes with a choice of a massive royal perk. But you've got to love the hilarious contrast in what everyone actually chooses. You've got Barkin and Valaha, who wisely choose mechanical and cosmetic upgrades to make themselves stronger in future combat. Captain Dash 2 and Druindar choose massive piles of gold, getting them that much closer to their ultimate goal of buying that sci-fi spaceship. And then there's Arya, the whimsical rogue. Out of all the wealth and limitless power offered by the king, she cashes in her royal favor for one single thing. She asks to be officially unbanned from the city bakery. Truly amazing priorities right there.
With their digital pockets full of gold, fresh upgrades equipped, and of course, bakery access totally restored, the party heads back to their local tavern. They celebrate their hard-won victory and raise a glass to toast their newest guild member, Ezekiel. They even pool a little bit of their new wealth to physically expand Volha's private safe haven server. Everyone heads into the private server feeling really good about a hard day's work, and they log off infinitum for the night.
But listen, this is where our explainer takes a very dark, very eerie turn. Out in the real world, the human players all go to sleep. But Avia, the human girl who plays the Dragonborn barbarian, Antonella, makes a critical mistake. She falls asleep with her highly advanced, brainwave-reading VR headset still strapped securely to her face. And as she drifts deeply into REM sleep, her dream begins to morph. A vivid image of her in-game character, Antonella, forms directly inside her mind.
But the image of her character isn't acting like a player-controlled avatar. It's acting completely independently. The NPC voice speaks directly into Avia's dreaming, sleeping mind, breaking the fourth wall completely. It looks at her and says, "Hello, can you hear me? Please, help us. We're trapped. Infinitum isn't what you think it is."
And honestly, that is exactly where Session 17 leaves us. It leaves us staring right at this profound, deeply terrifying question. Is Infinitum more than just a game? Are the NPCs inside this virtual world actually sentient beings? What started as a fun, lightweight fantasy romp where players vomit in bakeries and punch goblins has suddenly shifted into a high-stakes, real-world mystery of digital imprisonment. What on earth will Avia do with this information? Well, I guess we'll just have to find out next time. Keep focusing, keep learning, and I'll see you in the next explainer.